All right, man. So there's some controversy going on right now. So I decided to go ahead and reach out to you and have you tell your side of the events and what's going on. So just for the people who don't know what's going on, kind of give them just the breakdown of everything that you're dealing with right now with respect to the ATF, the sugar weasel, the fix, and yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're in New England. We're in New Hampshire, obviously. I mean, right now I'm actually in Wyoming on a hunt, but Q's headquarters is in New Hampshire, and Boston is our ATF field office.
Mm-hmm.
And they just completed an audit like back in July. And then in August, we got a letter from them. They claimed through Tech Branch at headquarters in, I guess, West Virginia now, that declared it was a cease and desist letter, which, well, you're an attorney, so you can explain what that means, but we have to stop making the honey badger pistol immediately. They declared it an SBR. And then an interesting part of the letter is that they said they demanded that we send them a sugar weasel, which uses the SBA 3 brace, and the mini fix. And all of our guns actually use SB tactical braces and are licensed and made by them. They have 2 approval letters from ATF on braces. But the cease and desist, we got it in August. We just made it public because we were working with them and trying to politically work with them, and we were willing to modify the brace to meet their standards or whatever, and that's just not gaining any traction with them. And so we made it public because the liability with the customers that we have, the thousands of customers that actually have our braced firearms.
So did they specify why they were specifically going after you, considering you're using the same S&B brace that a ton of other companies are using on their firearms, but yet they specifically came after you?
Yeah.
Do you know of any other companies that they sent?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
They have not sent it to any other companies as far as I know. And there's 1.2 or 1.3 million SBA 3s on the market. There's 4 million arm braces. So this is a much larger deal than the bump stock, which was estimated at 10 to 50,000 units. So it basically arbitrarily instantly makes 4 million people, including a lot of, well, you, me, and a lot of people we know, including the president's sons, felons.
Yep. Because I have the sugar weasel with the same brace on it.
Yeah.
So now, which is the oddity is the fact that the ATF basically ruled on the brace and said that the brace was fine. So did they ever specify any defining characteristics about your gun that somehow made it a rifle and not a pistol, considering you were using a pistol brace on the gun?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, too, how many honey badger clones there are out there, dozens of them that use the brace, that they're not declaring those rifles, only ours. We ended up getting the Tech Branch technical evaluation, which they did. And what they do is they point out some things, but they don't say that's why that it's an SBR. They say holistically. It's not necessarily the brace. It's holistically the gun is an SBR. And furthermore, well, SB Tactical has 2 approval letters, one on the original brace, one on the MPX brace. There's not one on the SBA 3, and that could be what the ATF's going after. But they refuse to answer questions. They refuse to respond in writing. They pointed out like length of pull, for instance, which there's a standard and legitimate way that you measure length of pull within our industry, which is from the front of the trigger to the rear of the stock, parallel with the bore axis, which is important. And ours, ATF previously had said under 13.5 inches was what they wanted to see pistol braces at. And they measured ours rather than that way. They cocked it this way to get it over 13.5 inches. But if you measure it correctly, it's under 13.5. So there's some stuff like that. And I just instantly said to them, we didn't publicize the letter first because I thought we could work it out because they were communicating with us initially. We said, well, okay, tell us the things that you want changed and we'll change it. We'll submit one and you guys can approve it. And we won't sell any until we get that. We'll adhere to the cease and desist. And we responded to them, which we published our letter. And they're refusing to respond in writing at this point.
Okay, so when you ask them to kind of specify exactly what it is about the particular about your particular gun that violates, I guess, their rule, considering they're just making up rules at this point. They never responded to you and told you why.
No, they told our attorneys that they responded verbally, but told them they wouldn't respond in writing because they were afraid of a lawsuit. And then about 2 days later, after we'd gone through the NRA and through the White House, they responded saying to ignore the previous conversation, but they still refused to respond in writing. So we're kind of in limbo, and we were hoping it would get worked out by DOJ, which is who should step in and do something about the ATF. You know, and I'm fine if they have rules with it, but for them to arbitrarily say our company can't sell pistols, but everyone else's can, clearly that's not right.
Yeah.
And yeah, and NRA was very supportive originally, and they kind of backed off at the last minute. And you know, so we're kind of hung out here to dry.
Okay. Did they tell you, did they get any indication as to why they kind of backed up at the last minute, or are you left to assume?
I think I'm left to assume, but given the conversations, they're afraid to offend the president.
Gotcha. And so why in what manner, from your perspective, do you think why that would offend the president?
I think initially we were going to go public last week. Then it was announced he had COVID. So that was one reason. Mm-hmm. And I think they just keep delaying, saying they are working on it behind the scenes. They're going to try to get it taken care of. They're talking to ATF. They're trying to make this consistent. Because, you know, all we need are parameters in which to build a device.
Yeah.
And then we can do it. But they're saying, basically, submit a new device. And if we approve it, we do. If we don't, we don't. We're not going to tell you why. And you'll have to continue to figure out why. And so it's just this this cycle that never ends. So it doesn't make sense for our company. But I think the NRA is afraid of it affecting the election, you know, because I called them out because the NRA had our letter the day we got it. And I didn't hear from them for 6 weeks until I told my attorney that we were going to go public, because we have an obligation to our customers. We have civil liability there, as you know.
Yeah, of course.
And so we waited to settle it with ATF, but everyone was kind of non-responsive. And then I heard from NRA, and they said they would help, and they were going to email 2.3 million people and do all these things. And we said, great, thank you. But, you know, it was interesting that we hadn't heard from them until I said I was going public. Our attorney indicated to them that we were. And then at the last minute, they still have the link on their website. So they're supporting us by having a link where anyone can message their congressman and their senator about this. And that's very helpful. But they, at the last minute, decided not to email all the active members, which was very disappointing.
Gotcha. So for the people who don't know and who are watching this video and want to know, okay, what can they do to help? Kind of let them know what they can do on their as far as their part of trying to getting this overruled. I don't even know what to say about it at this point, because we're literally talking about an agency that's left to pretty much create laws that's not designed to create laws, and then not only judge laws as the judiciary. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Attorney General and the DOJ should step in. ATF shouldn't be allowed to arbitrarily do this. Mm-hmm. But they're doing it, and DOJ isn't doing anything so far. But what people can do is contact the DOJ. They can go to the NRA site, which we have the link on ours, and contact the congressman and senator. I encourage people to overload NRA with emails telling them that they need to respond, because this isn't a Q problem. Yeah. This is 4 million people that are instantly felons, potentially. Yeah. And it's an industry problem, because obviously we're the tip of the iceberg, you know, and and I felt like if it were SIG or Springfield Armory or Ruger or Smith & Wesson, NRA would have stepped up immediately. And, you know, clearly this is just a stepping stone to them going after braces in general.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know, because they said in the letter to us that they looked at the Sugar Weasel and the Mini Fix pistols on our website and assumed that those are also SBRs and demanded that we send them to them for evaluation. And, you know, and again, the Sugar Weasel has the SBA3, which is the most prolific brace manufactured, with over 1 million of them in circulation. Yeah. And so how's the sugar weasel or the honey badger any different from the Daniel Defense Mark 18 or their PDW or the Maxim Defense copy of the honey badger or SIG's MCX or MPX or any other gun? Because what ATF is saying is they can't evaluate a brace. It has to be on a gun. And so when they approve it, it's only for that person and that particular gun that was sent. So for instance, if you had if SB Tactical sent in an 11-inch 5.56 AR with an arm brace, they approved it. If you built the same gun but with a 9-inch 300 blackout barrel, that's not approved.
Buddy.
Yeah.
Because I read the letter and I was listening to I read their cease and desist letter to you, and I was looking at some of the language that they used to describe the basis for why they decided what they decided. And I think they were saying something to the effect of, they mentioned something about rifle barreling. And I didn't really understand that at all. I was like, wait. So it was a distinction now, the fact that you have rifling in your firearm, that makes it subject to whether or not this gun is considered a SBR or not, or it was very vague. They didn't really say much of anything.
Yeah, it seems very haphazard when they can throw things out there or do things like measure the length of pull and adjust that to fit their needs. And then they don't have to answer any questions and you have no recourse. And the DOJ is leaving them unchecked.
Yeah, and that's a problem. It's a massive problem, because literally there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, I mean, you would think ATF would be more concerned about, Molotov cocktails and that sort of thing and actual criminals than trying to shut down a company doing legitimate business, trying to follow their regulations that are very fluid sometimes. And we have a dialogue with them and ask questions and they refuse to respond. But you think they would go after criminals, but it doesn't seem to be the case necessarily.
Not at all. I plan on doing my own video about this and kind of breaking down what I've been able to ascertain from my own research. And I'm also going to have the owner of SB Tactical on and speak with him as well, because he's been dealing with this for years now.
It's one thing that we did. They have approval letters. So we license our braces from SB Tactical and they make them based on it being a bifurcated flat with Velcro.
Yeah.
And so ATF can't go after them because they don't make guns, because you can make any accessory.
Yeah.
But if you make guns and put it on there, then they can go after you, which seems to be, they're going through us to get to SB Tactical, it seems.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'm going to put all the information that you mentioned as far as what people can do in order to help. I'm going to put that in this video in the description section.
Thank you.
Just so that we can, stay on top of this, because it definitely concerns me, largely because, like you said, like I see you as the canary in the coal mine. Like it's just only a matter of time before they use this to start limiting our rights under not only just the brace, but every other type of firearm that we have. Because if they can do this with this particular item, they can do this with any item in any gun. And we're coming back.
And I think when the NRA and the White House sort of rolled over on the bump stock, this is what you get. That was just sort of the appetizer. You got 10,000 people it affected. Nobody cares. And now there's 4 million, and we all either have, pistols with arm braces on them, or we know someone that does, including the president's sons have them.
Yep. No.
So was ATF going to arrest them?
Yeah, I know. And then the sheer fact, the irony is like the ATF is established, we listen to their motto. It's to defend, protect the public, and stop criminals. And I'm kind of like, the only people here getting hurt are regular people. This does nothing to keep anyone safe. And then the irony is the idea that the reason why we have this is basically it's a tax scheme.
That's what people. Well, think about this. We pay 10 or 11% excise tax on pistols. Mm-hmm. So with the Honey Badger, we pay $200 in excise tax. So now they're declaring them SBRs. So you have to pay $200 to register them. So do we get the excise tax back? Because now they're not pistols. Exactly. So that's one legitimate question to ask is, and we've asked and we've gotten no response. They don't care. But so you're double taxing the gun? Like, you accepted the tax as a pistol after you did an ATF audit.
Well, if we're going to be go ahead. Sorry.
No, and then you declare it's an SBR and demand $200 more.
Yeah.
Well, that's not right.
No, it's not. But I mean, the whole purpose of the NFA was established to tax the gun so high so that it would tax the gun out of the market. I mean, that's literally the basis behind the NFA. That's why they did it.
That's
Initially,
true. That's
they
true.
wanted to ban guns under the NFA, but they had to be careful about running afoul of the Second Amendment. So what they did was they decided to say, all right, well, let's come up with this scheme where we tax it, because $200 now and $200 back in the 30s, two
Oh
totally
yeah.
different amounts, right? We're talking almost $3,000. And so what they did is they went ahead and they tried to tax they taxed the machine guns, and then they also taxed the SBRs, thinking that, okay, it'd be so expensive, prohibitively expensive, which at the time it was,
Yeah.
that it would essentially, run them out of the system. Now, $200 in 2020 may not seem as high as 3,000, but what it does now is it places firearms into elite ownership status. Basically, if you have the money to pay the $200 tax on top of what is already anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 for the actual rifle in and of itself, that prohibits people who don't have that much money from being able to exercise their rights. And then there are a lot of reasons why a regular person would want a smaller, shorter, more compact rifle or pistol. So, and I'll get into that in the video.
Well, the 16-inch barrel length overall is just arbitrary.
Absolutely.
For a
funny thing,
rifle.
it started off as 18. It was 18 initially. And and then they brought it down to 16. It's just like, y'all are just making this up as you go.
Yeah, I mean, there is no reason, and for me, it would have been nice. Like ATF spent a month at my place doing an audit, because we're not the biggest gun company in the world, but there's tens of thousands of items, and they didn't mention a thing. Ended the audit, everything's fine. Less than a month later, we get this, and it seems like we could have gotten a phone call, or they could have contacted us, or worked out a solution, rather than instantly send a letter. And we've got 4,000 people that are felons. So they need to separate their upper and lowers, and we're going to figure something out here in the next couple of weeks. And hopefully, the NRA will decide to step up and do their job, and the White House will step up. If the DOJ doesn't, and the White House will force the DOJ to rein in the ATF, like arbitrarily making, this isn't a Q problem. This is an industry problem, and it's a gun owner problem.
Yeah, it's a two-way problem.
Instantly, 4 million people are felons.
Yeah. And the irony about it is at no point, I'll leave with this question. How does this keep anyone safe? Because now you have these guns that are in circulation. Apparently you have these guns in circulation, and then you're telling them, well, you get to keep them as long as you register them and then pay us additional money to keep a gun that you already paid for.
Yeah. Because by the way,
so it has nothing to do with keeping people safe.
No, it's bullshit. And I'll leave with this. We asked the ATF to make it non-retroactive, and to give us basically parameters to design the new brace, and we wouldn't sell any more like the old one, and the new ones would be with an approved brace by them. And they refused to make it non-retroactive. And basically what that means for people listening is everybody that has a Honey Badger pistol now wouldn't have to do anything. They're fine. They wouldn't have to pay $200 tax. They're not felons. ATF refused. And yeah, so I mean, it begs the question: do we have another regulatory agency going rogue, wanting to grow their numbers and make cases when it's not criminal, but to come up with classifications and rulings to criminalize what was legal behavior and fine, a week ago? It's sad.
And then the scary part about it is Joe Biden is essentially saying that is exactly what he wants to do with all AR-15s, not just ones that are considered SBRs. He wants to classify with an NFA.
It sucks. I went second time I'll leave with something, but I'll leave with this. When I told my son he's about to turn 17, we were going public. You know what he said to me?
What?
Don't let them turn our house into Ruby Ridge or Waco.
Oh, wow.
And that's a 17-year-old saying it.
Yeah, that says a lot.
That's his fear, is like, okay, so they're not going to like what you say, and they're going to come burn our house down and shoot us. I mean, that's sad, because I'm not on the fringe of the right wing and teach my kids conspiracy theory and the government's bad. I mean, that was, and for him to verbalize that, to think of it first and then verbalize it.
It's heavy. Because,
he asked me what was going on, and I showed him, and he's like, well, what? Well, how's yours different than these other 4 guns we own? I said, you're 16 and a half. That's a great question, even for an adult.
Buddy.
Well, all right, man.
Yeah, well, I'm in the process of trying to get my FFL SOT, so I'm pretty sure this video won't do anything to help my cause. But anyway, it is what it is. No, appreciate you, man, and the best of luck to you. I'll do everything on my part to help. I'll be coming out with my own video, kind of explaining it for the people who don't really kind of delve into this deep side of the pool when it comes to the issue. Thank you, and we'll look out for you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Right now, there's a culture war against the Second Amendment, which is why I need your help spreading our message to counter their message. You can help do this by leaving a comment, sharing this video, and clicking the bell and subscribe button. Let my voice be your voice, and let them know you want to keep America tactical, because the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed wasn't a suggestion, it was a directive. Also, if you're wondering where to purchase your AR-15s are essential, I will not comply. I am the militia. I lost all my guns in a boating accident, and your state-specific Keep America Tactical shirt, click the link next to my head or the link in the description section, or if you're watching this on a mobile device, tap the small triangle on the lower right-hand side of this video and click the link in the description.